Right here I have this track and I'm very happy with how this is coming along, but it was a very challenging sample to chop up and sequence. There's some complications that I ran into, but in this video I want to go over my mindset on why I'm sequencing the way I am. Not much of a how-to, but I want to go over the reasons why I'm doing certain things. So I'm really excited to jump into this, but before I do want to say thank you to today's sponsor, DistroKid. Now, if you have not heard of DistroKid yet, DistroKid is a music distribution company which will distribute your music to all different streaming platforms. I think it's very important to release your music, and if you feel like nobody is going to hear my music or I don't have too many streams, DistroKid also provides you with different tools to promote your music with different launch methods, not only launch methods, but pre-sales, alongside with music videos that you could put with your music, and it's all synced up into your artist account. Now, the really cool thing about DistroKid is that they make it so easy. As a matter of fact, you could even upload a track and publish a track directly from your cell phone. And also, if you're somebody that feels like your music is not as competitive as the other music that's out there already, do not worry about it. DistroKid does also have tools like Mixia, which will help you with mastering your track for you. I've done it before. I've mastered some of my tracks using Mixia and it sounds great. I feel happy with how my tracks sound compared to other artists. So it's a tool that I'll be using on my next upload. So make sure you guys check out DistroKid for a 7% discount down in the link of my bio. Now I want to start with the sample. The sample sounded simple when I first heard it. Now, there's drums in the background, and I chopped it up in the quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I followed the drums, and that's how I chopped it up. That's the way I usually do it, and I'm able to perform my track. But even though I chopped it up, the performance of this was so fast. The tempo of the track was going to be like at 120, even though I dropped it down about -2 semitones. Usually why I drop it down 2 semitones is because I like my BPM to be at 70 beats per minute or 80 beats per minute. So when you pitch it down at about 2 semitones, you get this darker feel to it, and you could perform it to like 70 or 80 beats per minute if it works out. In this case, it did not work out. It was still very fast. So what I did, I just went to 115 beats per minute, and my drums, I just had to switch them up. It couldn't be a boom bap style of drums because it was just gonna be way too fast. And I wanna show you how I deal with these complex samples. I like to go into my grid editor, and inside of my grid editor, I will just use this on this Q links. There's this 4th Q link is lit up red, and I have these 2 knobs right here, and these are my selectors. So I can select a certain section and work bar by bar. So I'm not trying to perform everything at once because I know it's not something that I can perform. I'm going to have to really just work on each section. If I'm right here in bar 1 and I zoom in, you will see that I'm going to delete this note because that's I added after. I had quarter note performance. That was it. That was the foundation that I locked into. I could not find anything else but this. That was it. And I was like, man, I spent so much time slicing this up and I could not find something to start with. I like to start with the backbone of what I'm going to work with. In this case, again, it was pad 1, 2, and then 15 and 16. Locked into those, and I looped that. I loop that and I listen to it. I sit down and I just pay attention to it. And I figure out and I tell myself or ask myself, is this something that I can listen to looping over and over? Yes, maybe no. In this case, I was like, this is cool, but I gotta switch it up. I gotta break it up a bit. And the way I like to break this up is, I mentioned this in my previous videos, when you have vocals in your samples, it is so cool when you have vocals in there because you could use these vocals as, I don't know what to call it, like sound effects or little bits in between each bar, and it just makes it sound dark. It just brings the darkness into this bar right here. So what I did is, if I undo, I brought in this pad. He has like a ooh ringing out, but it just sounded good to just sneak it in between this first beat right here. So I'm throwing this in between the beat. As you can see right here, I got beat 1, beat 2, beat 3, and beat 4. But I threw this ooh in here. Again, I'm not performing this all live because I'm not that good to be able, I'm not like that. So I went ahead and just did this quarter note sequence, and then I threw this in. As you see what I just did right now, I performed it, I rehearsed it. I'm like, oh man, this feels right. And then I hit overdub record and I throw that in there, and let's see how it sounds. That sounds awesome. I love that. It just breaks the monotonous apart, and it just adds something different. That's just that one bar. Then we move over to the second bar, and in the second bar, the same thing. I have, but then I put the I put that. Again, I looped that sequence, and then I broke it apart by rehearsing different pads. What I'm doing here and what I want to explain is, do not be afraid to break things apart. You really have nothing to lose to explore and experiment. And after that, I can move on to bar number 3. And as you see, I have 8 bars right here. Of course, I'm copying, pasting, but when I copy and paste, I like to just try different things out in different sections and just work like that. But once we loop the whole 8 bars, I'm gonna go back to my main page, get out of solo, and let's hear everything together. Yeah. Again, right here, I think it's in bar 5. Ah, it's right here. So if we zoom in right here, it's going to say something, but just having that snippet, it's like a millisecond that is right there. Again, it brings in this darkness, and I love the way it sounds. Now, when you're probably listening to me and it's like, man, this guy is weird, man. Like, I'm talking about little milliseconds, and they make a difference. They add some type of tension to the track. And now I'm looping a short section, but when this is going on and you hear that little snippet, every other bar is like a treat that just sounds so good. Boom, right here in bar 7. Once I'm at this point, I'm just having fun. I'm trying different vocals or vowels that he's saying, and I'm just throwing those in there and just having fun by breaking this apart. Like, let's say right here in bar 6, if I zoom in, I'm going to show you how I like to experiment with this. I mean, I'm going to try something else right here. Notice I'm just trying. I'm triggering different pads. I'm seeing. I mean, they sound okay, but it's not worth it for me. Pad 3. I mean, it feels pretty good. Is it? Is like he's gonna say, is it? I just realized I probably sound so funny trying to explain this. For anybody watching this video that's not into this art is probably hearing me and saying like, what is this guy talking about? He's going to say something right there. But what I could even do, because I want to bring out that vowel, is it? I kind of want to go a little later. What I could even do is jump into my program editor and go into my samples. And right here, I'm going to zoom in on that selection, and I'm actually going to push this back a little bit. Okay, so let's see how this performs now. Yeah. That's awesome. Now, again, we're working with small millisecond little snippets. Nobody's going to notice, oh, wow, he just threw in a small, like nobody's paying attention to this, but it's something that sets the tone for the track. And it's just looping, and it breaks the loop apart every other bar. So what I really want to project to you is, do not be afraid to experiment or just get away from your comfort zone and try something different. It might work, it might not. Again, the worst that can happen is just a beat that doesn't sound good. I'm sure a lot of us have plenty beats that don't sound good. So, and that's pretty much it. That's what I have right there on my master bus. I have nothing going on my master bus. I'm just recording this straight into Ableton. I've been getting this question asked, and I'm getting a little off topic here, but I do a soft mix with my MPC, very light. I do not even really use this mixer window. It's very rare that I do, but I just set levels, and I like to mix by selecting the samples that I'm going to use. And that's my heavy lifting of mixing, I guess, my sound selection, drum selection, snares, 808s, if it works, if it doesn't. Should I use acoustic bass, or should I use the 808? All that is just going to determine on the sample that I'm using. I always like to show you guys what I'm using for signal flow. In this case, it's just the MPC, nothing on my master bus. The only thing that I am doing is I'm recording this into Ableton, and in Ableton, I do give it a master, and I do use some plugins. Maybe I'll do that on another video. If you guys want to see that part, let me know down in the comments. Again, thank you so much for hanging out with me. Hopefully this video really resonates with you. If it's not, it's probably something very complex or complicated the way my mind works, but I'm happy to share that with you. I hope you enjoyed this. I'll catch you guys on our next video. Peace. By your side.